And the question that then arises for you in the areas in which you are working and for society in general would be, what immediate things do we need to do to deal especially with the challenge of youth unemployment? I won't go into detail on all those issues that are listed. But one thing you would be aware of, it's a debate that took the form of a civil discussion on radio and television, to shouting in demonstrations, and to bricks in the streets during the course of last week. The youth wage subsidy. One of the critical immediate interventions that I think we need in order to deal with this challenge of youth unemployment. The trade unions, yes, are raising a number of issues, and that apprehension should be understood. Will the employers take the young people and retrench the old ones, and so on and so forth? And the point that needs to be made is that it is the responsibility of the business community and of government interacting with the unions to identify those apprehensions as well as the solutions to deal with them. But to do that, you require leadership. And this is the next issue that I'm going to deal with. And when we talk about leadership, we're not only talking about politicians, but across the board. One good example, as you can see on the slide, is the comparison in 2009 between South Africa and, on the other hand, Germany and the UK. Let's take Germany. GDP contracts by about 5%, but employment contracts by 4%. In South Africa, GDP contracts by 1.8%, but employment contracts by 6%. Why the difference? Why the inverted logic in South Africa? It is because in Germany, leaders of the unions and leaders of business sat down as the crisis was starting to take effect and posed to each other the question, what is the contribution that either side can make to ensure that the company does not collapse, to ensure that jobs are protected? And workers agreed that they will work shorter working weeks. They agreed that their wages will be reduced somewhat in that period. But on the other hand, business said when the pick-up happens, then the wages will increase. And indeed, they reached that agreement, saved jobs, and you might have seen in the papers during the course of last week, now the unions are starting to demand salary increases much higher than inflation because German industry is picking up. That's strategic leadership by both the business community and the trade union movement to pursue common interests. It's one of the challenges that we have in South Africa. We have that deficit of strategic leadership. And strategic leadership also means that you should be able to identify trade-offs and make choices when the need arises. Without elaborating on this, there would be instances, and I suppose this also relates to the work that you are doing, where the question arises in enterprises, can you have continuous positive returns which should all be passed on to the shareholders? Or should you have a more longer-term outlook? Should there be more resources, for instance, to CSI and so on? That is the challenge of long-term rewards as distinct from instant gratification. And we should encourage the latter.